Okay, so we are recording. So I want to say welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Today we have Introduction to Graphic Design. And today we're covering Canva, and we have Liza Wynette, who's going to be our instructor this evening, and she's going to give us a demonstration of Canva. But before I let Liza go ahead and take over, I do want to remind everyone that the library is open for curbside service, both printing and we can get your materials to you that way. We are also open for virtual services, meaning you can call us on the phone, ask us reference questions, any questions that you'd like. And we are also doing virtual programming like tonight. And our other tech workshops, usually they're Monday evenings or they are Tuesday afternoons at 2 o'clock, if you'd like to attend any of those. And all right, and you can always check our website for the latest information too. Right now we are doing an upgrade on our book job, but that should be open again hopefully on Friday. But if you'd like any more information about that, you can also call us and ask over the phone for that too. So other than that, I do have a quick graphic that I'm going to share as I get started here. I just remembered that I could share that. So I'm going to go ahead and share our little illustration here. Let me jump into slideshow. Oops.
Oh, you have my old portrait.
So if you have an updated one, let us know. We can use an updated one too, whenever you'd like. So today, as I said, we have Liza Wynette, who is going to teach us a little bit about Canva. And I will actually let you go ahead and take over. I'll stop sharing that so that you can take over. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my video off so that we can spotlight yours.
Okay.
All right.
Hey everyone. Well, thanks for joining me this evening. I'm really excited about this workshop because I love Canva, and I think it's a really great application for folks who might be new to graphic design or just need to create some like quick materials like flyers or social media posts. But it also can be really super powerful. It can help you, brand a business, even create a logo and those sort of things. But before we get started, I want to give you a brief, actually before we get started in the Canva application, I want to show you a little PowerPoint. Well, it's not a PowerPoint, it's a Canva presentation about what it is and kind of what it can do for you. All right, and hopefully that's showing up okay for you folks.
Yes, yep, I can see it.
Okay, great. If you have any questions as we go through either this presentation or when we start working inside of Canva, just feel free to leave those in the chat and we'll kind of address those as we move along. So like I mentioned, this presentation was created in Canva, so I thought that was kind of appropriate. Oops. There we go. So what is Canva? I think that's really important to talk about what it actually is and what it does. Okay. Well, it's an online design service, so you can access it anywhere you have a mobile device or computer and an internet connection. And what makes it really special is that it combines quality design templates that are created by professionals with digital assets like photography and illustrations and even video. And it also has photo editing tools all in one platform in one service. And lots of people use Canva, so you can use it for your own personal projects, but small businesses use it. Students, especially now that we have so much online learning happening, find it particularly useful, and personal events. So any sort of visual communication that you need to create can be done in Canva. And here's just a sample of what you can create. So it can do social media posts, which is probably what most small businesses use it for. And I'm going to show you why it's so powerful for that in a moment. But it also does print publications like posters, invitations. You can use it to create your resume. You can make your own logos and flyers, all those sort of things. Here are some of the advantages I feel like Canva, these are some things that make Canva really special and unique. And I'm coming I'm talking about these from the perspective of a graphic designer who's created designs and lots of different applications. So the first one is how easy it is to use with just a little practice. The interface is straightforward and clean, and just with a little practice, you can make some pretty powerful pieces of visual communication. You also don't need expensive software. Canva, the basic version, is free. If you want to upgrade to Pro, there's that option. But you don't have to spend a lot of money like on Adobe software, like Photoshop and Illustrator. One of the biggest things that I find helpful for non-designers is that it comes equipped with a lot of professional templates that you can just put in your own information and your own images, and they look really good. One disadvantage for non-designers using applications like Adobe, Illustrator, and Photoshop is that just because you can, even though you can learn how to use the application, it doesn't necessarily make you a good designer. Just like if I handed you a pencil and told you to draw a beautiful portrait of someone in graphite, but you never learned how to, you never had any art classes. It kind of is like that. And it has a lot of free quality assets, meaning that lots of free photographs that are really nice, illustrations and animations that you can use. It designs for the print and the web both. And it also has mobile ready templates, meaning that if you want a like an Instagram post, you just hit the Instagram post template and it automatically makes it the correct size, which is super powerful. And it's free. You can get the pro version if you want, but there's no reason that you can't get started and make some awesome things, you know, with the free version. All right, but it does have some possible pitfalls you should look out for. As we go along, I'm gonna kind of try to address some of these so you don't fall victim to them. The first and probably the most important is that it's easy to break a really good design. So you can start with a beautiful template, and if you're not careful about how you add your own content, it might not look as good when you get done with it. Like I said earlier, I'm going to show you how to avoid that. The logos are they're contemporary and they look really good, but they tend to be a bit generic. And it's absolutely fine if you want to use it to create a logo, especially if you have a small business, like you're making soap for the farmer's market. That's perfectly okay. But if you are a small business owner and need to brand your company and that's going to be your sole source of income, you probably should hire a professional to help you out. The designs might not also age well. They can feel a little bit trendy at times, which is just fine for social media because it only is up for, you know, usually just a couple of weeks at the most. But I would be very careful of using it to create like a brochure that you want to use year after year because it can look dated if you're not being careful. And I also don't advise it for creating a brand identity if you're a small business owner. Hire a professional to help you with that. They can make something that works well within your demographic and give you something more unique than what you could make in Canva. And there's always the risk of template overload, which I actually still occasionally fall victim to. There's just so many really cool templates that you can use. And if you're not, you don't have a plan in mind, you can kind of get sucked in and get distracted with them all. All right, so how to begin? Let's say you want to make a poster or social media post on Canva. You got to start somewhere. And I actually recommend starting first with a pencil and paper or even with a laptop and take a few notes and kind of zero in on what you actually want to use it for. Okay. So first, you want to have a plan. You want to if you have to make a piece of visual communication, you need to plan first. And usually what I tell people when they want to create these things is ask themselves these 5 questions. And the first one is, what do you want to communicate? What is its purpose, this piece of visual communication? Is it to create a flyer to post around your neighborhood for a lost dog? Or is it a social media post to advertise maybe a sale at a local boutique consignment shop? And then who is your target audience? Who is it intended for? And that isn't usually everyone. You usually want to target a type of person. And let's go back to that example of the boutique clothing store. That target audience might be, let's say, fashion sophisticated or fashion knowledgeable women between 18 and 65, let's say. And kind of think about how you want that design to feel. Do you want it to be joyful and happy? Do you want it to be serious, like you're advertising a financial institution? Or maybe it needs to be sophisticated. And what copy should be included? So what do you want it to say? What wordage needs to be in there? And here's a hint, it should always be short and to the point. And what is the best platform for that communication? Is it a social media post? Or maybe it's just a flyer or a poster? And I recommend really writing those down and keeping that with you so that you don't get template overload and you have a plan. Okay. Okay. And finally, before we start actually working in Canva, I want to emphasize that you shouldn't be afraid to experiment and explore. It's the best way to learn the program. And I did, admittedly, when I first started using Canva, I did kind of look at some of their little tutorials, but I mostly taught myself by experimenting and just getting in there and start playing around. All right, so now we're going to get started actually working in the application. Does anyone have any questions?
Liza, I also forgot to mention that for those of you with questions, you can either use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or you can open up the chat with that little chat bubble down there in the bottom middle of your screen to get in touch with us. I can unmute people if you raise your hand so that you can ask your question verbally, as well as if you want to type it in the chat. If you send it to all panelists and all attendees, that'll go to everyone. And if you send it just to the panelists, I'll go ahead and say it to Liza so everyone will hear it too. I think that sometimes works best because then in case everyone has the same question. So,
Great.
okay.
All right, thanks. If you want to follow along, if you're on either on a mobile device or on a computer, you can just type into your browser www.canva.com, and I'm actually going to change browsers really quick to show you what that looks like. Let me see if I can new share.
There we go.
Okay, great. Okay.
And if you haven't gotten a Canva account yet, you can get one right now by hitting where it says sign up and just give an email address and a password, and then you do have to verify it in your email.
Yep. And yeah, and you certainly don't need an account to follow along, but if you wanted to, here's where you do that. Okay. And I actually have two browser windows open, so I'm going to switch back to the other one. Let's see. Okay. So once you're logged in, this is what the home screen looks like, and it's super clean and everything is readily accessible. And I'm just going to give you a brief tour of what's here. I'm not going to take too long at it, but I encourage you to explore and kind of poke around the website. On the top in the main navigation, we have a template option, and here the templates are organized by use, so education or business, personal, social media. And most of these can be accessed other places within in Canva, including on the home page in this main area. Features kind of gives you a sample of what they offer, both in the free version and in the pro version. It includes photography, icons, print products. You can actually print directly from Canva using their services, apps, and then kind of explore. I want to take a little bit of extra time to talk about their Learn section, and I'm not going to dive into this too much, but I want to let you know it's here. I do recommend, if you're new to Canva, to take a look at their tutorials. They're really helpful. Um, and if if you have a small business and want to learn a little bit more about social media marketing, or if you have a hobby that you really enjoy, or you're an artist and want to show your things off, get those Instagram followers and check that out. And if you're completely new to design, they have a really good section on how to use fonts and color and layout like a pro. I think there's this misconception by non-designers and non-artists that somehow it's like this divinely given talent, or your muse is whispering in your ear. But especially as a designer, that's not really how it works. Design has rules, and if you learn those rules and learn how to apply them, anyone can be a good designer. By learning the basics, if you will give you the freedom and empower you to make designs from scratch and not rely so heavily on templates. So definitely check that out. They're really accessible and short. And they also have some tips on branding your business if you need help with that. On the left, we have things that are mostly made for small businesses and nonprofits. So you can share projects with one another within the same organization. You can brand your work and save your branding, like colors and logos, and create a team if you're working within that larger organization. Most of this is available with Pro, but I think you can sample it with the free version too. And all your designs are saved under the All Designs section, which also show up right here. The most commonly used templates are up here at the top on the main page, and then designs that you've created are automatically saved and always available here. So if you need to edit them, come back to them, make changes, they're there. And then seasonally significant and popular designs are then featured on the home page. So it looks like the holidays are featured right now. So that's all I'm going to do for the tour right now. But I want to get in and actually show you how to make a design that's really simple but powerful. And we're going to do an Instagram post. First, I'm going to show you where we're going to end up. Is this design. So I teach pottery sometimes in the evening, kind of as just something fun to do. And I have lots of pottery photographs around. And I thought, well, what if I made this fictional organization and I wrote a little brief on what they needed. So I answered those 5 questions that I talked about in the slide presentation. So I wanted something that was colorful, that was bold and fun and kind of energetic. And I think this design succeeds in that. So I definitely had a plan before we're going in here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page. Since I knew I wanted an Instagram post, getting started was pretty easy. I just clicked on the Instagram post button. So, and then that takes you to their design section. Okay. And you start with a blank canvas, but we can quickly and easily build up our design with very little effort. My suggestion is when you start a new project is to always title it here at the top. Right now it's untitled, it says Instagram post. So I'm just going to name it something like pottery Instagram, something like that. If you don't label it, that's fine. What will happen is Canva will label it for you based on your most prominent piece of written information or the headline of your post. And it does automatically save, so you don't have to worry about a save button. Even if your browser crashes, you can come back and your work will still be there. So it saves like every few seconds. On the left is going to be a cascade of pre-made Instagram post templates that you can browse through. On the top, it shows the recently used ones that you may have clicked on, and then some recommendations. And then probably the most relevant or commonly used posts that people are making. So of course we have the virus, newsroom, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. I'm going to explore this a little bit more in a moment. And then to the left of that, we have the different assets that you can use within your design. I'm going to get back to uploads in a second. So right now we're looking at templates. If you want to access their photo archive, it's here. When you hover over the photos, you can see that a little free icon might show up, and that means that you can use this with the free version. But probably as we, oh, lots of free ones. If one is not free, it usually will say, have a little crown icon in the corner. Elements are fun graphics and animations and layout tools that you might find useful. So, we can just grab one of these guys and drop it in like that. So that's super easy. If you wanted to start with text from scratch, you have that option. You can even add music, which is super fun, especially for like Instagram videos. And if you just need, a plain background or something, like that, that's available. I'm going to go back to templates and start from there though. So I knew by my brief I wanted something that had lots of photography in it and had big bold type. And you might think that I went to an arts and crafts section, but I actually didn't. I found the template that I thought would work the best under the food section. Food posts are really visual because they want to be appealing and, engage your sense of appetite. And I found this one, We Love You Latte, which is pretty clever. And I thought this actually worked pretty well, There's a couple of things that I changed other than the type. When I click on this and then click play, you can see that it actually has like a little video clip. And I'm not going to use video in my final post, but we can override that. We can just use the layout and put in our own elements fairly easily. Okay. So yeah, once I click on that template little icon preview, it just auto-populates my canvas for me. All right, so the next step is I need to first change the typography. I really like the font and I'm not going to change the font. And I recommend, unless you have gone through all of those design tutorials or you have a design background, that you use the fonts that they provided for you. That will save you a lot of headache probably later on. To change the type in the template's pretty easy. A single click will select it, and these two bits of type are grouped together, so they'll move together as a unit. If I wanted to move this, I can just simply click on it and then move it around. So that's pretty easy. And you can see it gives you some alignment tools that will help you realign that if you need it. But let's say I move it off center and I'm like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I can simply go up here to the little undo icon in the upper left-hand corner and undo what I just did. So that's really helpful. Okay. Now to access the type, I double click to get into the text box. And then it's just like a text editor. I can type in, hey Clay, and thank goodness that it has a spell check. That's very helpful. And we can replace this type with pottery classes begin June 1st. All right. So you can see something really goofy happens here. Canva is trying to squish all of this type in this bounding box, and it's too big. So it's trying the best it can to make it fit, and it's doing a terrible job of it. So we can do a couple things here. The first is we can resize the bounding box to give it more room. And you can do that by grabbing these little handles and just pulling it out a little bit. And that's all it needed to re-reg the type. So that works pretty well. And you can then click off of it, click back on it, and then recenter it, which is what I needed to do because I made it bigger. That's one way that you can ensure that you don't break your design and it still looks good, is make sure that everything still stays in alignment.
Liza, is there a shortcut for it to auto center it, or do you have to eyeball it and use the alignment tools?
I think that there's a position. Yep. So you can choose this position section, and that should hopefully realign it. It'll realign it to a page.
Okay.
But I find that, yeah, I kind of rely on those guides.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to go over here and just copy the text that I already made in my example. And I'm going to paste that in there. So I did the same thing where I double clicked inside the text box and then I just pasted some copy. And you can do that if you're working in a Word document. You can decide that, maybe you want to type out all the information that you need before you get in Canva and then just cut and paste it. That's what a lot of professionals do. And moving on, we see that we have the same problem. It's trying to re-reg in that text box. So what I might do first is try to resize the type, and you can change the font and the type size, make it bold, change the color, just like you would in a text editor or an email. There's not a lot of difference with these options. So I made that 21 points and it's still not working, and I don't want it to make that type any smaller because I think if it's on Instagram it's going to be difficult to read. So I'm going to make that text box a little bit bigger and then reposition it. And sometimes the guides don't work as well as you'd like them to, but you can just do the best you can. All right. So now my text is done. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And now I just need to replace the video with my own photography. I'm going to go to the left panel and choose photos. And you can see that I've already searched for free photographs of pottery in the photo section. But let's say I want to look for clothing, if I want to do like a clothing poster or something. Now here's that crown icon, which indicates you can't use these photographs unless you have a pro version. But some of these are free. And I'm going to go back to pottery. And there's actually a lot of free pottery stuff on here. And I'm going to say, well, maybe I like this one. And I want to put it in the lower left-hand corner. And it's just as simple as clicking, dragging, and then hovering over this image, and it will automatically populate that section for you, which is super helpful. It's going to do the best it can to guess how you want that image to look in that area, but you're going to probably need to do some adjustments.
If you don't put it right in that spot, does it just put it in the middle, or?
Yeah, it actually, let's see. So if I would just do a single click, yeah, it would put it in the middle. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you've ever used a layout application, you're going to be kind of familiar with how this is set up. This is called a bounding box on both of these. So if I hover over it with my mouse, you can kind of see that aqua box, and that contains the photograph. And you notice that it's not the same aspect ratio as the original. So what it does is making a little holder and auto cropping the image. And if it's not cropping the way that you want, you'll need to kind of dig into this bounding box and reposition it. And it's pretty easy to do that. So just like we double clicked to access and change the type, we can double click on one of these images and access the image inside of that bounding box. And then I can reposition that something like so. And when I want to get out of that, I just click off of it. And that's all you really need to do. Okay. If you want to use your own photographs, you certainly have that option. And I actually encourage you to use your own photographs when appropriate, because it will bring some authenticity to your post as opposed to using photographs someone else took. And to do that, above the photograph icon on the very left menu, you can choose uploads. Here are some photographs that I uploaded earlier, and I'm going to use some of these here shortly. But if you wanted to bring in your own media, whether it's video, audio, or images, you just click the upload button like you would in an email. Some of the new features now in Canva is that you can bring in photography and other assets from social media in things like Dropbox, or simply from your device, whether you're using a phone or a computer. I'm not going to go through this process because it's pretty straightforward. You click on the icon and you search for what you want to upload. But just know that that's an option. So I'm going to go back. Let's see. So I liked this image here. So I'm going to just drag and drop, and it automatically populates that bounding box. And just like before, I'll need to double click to access the photograph inside and then reposition. Right. And I'm finding this to be sort of redundant. I would like to show like more of a human making pottery, because that's kind of what it's all about. So I'm going to put this photograph in there like that. And I think that that looks pretty nice together. Okay. So we could actually say, hey, this is done. We could then put it in Instagram, and that's all the work it was. So it was super quick and easy. I made this post in, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes. But we can give it a little bit more personality if we so choose. I'm going to click on this photograph that's in the upper right-hand corner, and as soon as you click on a photograph, you get options up here to manipulate that photograph. And this works a lot like an Instagram filter, or like a really easy to use phone photo editing app. It has many of those same features. So you can choose special effects, which can be kind of fun. You can remove backgrounds, make it duotone, etc. I'm going to use a filter. I struggle with filters. I don't usually like them, but sometimes that they can be useful. And I found that this selfie filter was actually kind of nice because it had this warm tone and it kind of went with this golden color of the background. And you can choose how intense you want that. So you can just move this slider. And I'm going to make these match. So I'm going to click on this other photograph and click the selfie filter. You can also make adjustments right in the application. So you can choose to add a vignette if you think that would look nice. You can change the brightness or the contrast, saturation. So just like you would expect in most photo editors. And you can crop, etc. All right. Any questions so far?
Is there an edit undo?
Yes, you can just click on the undo button.
Where is it? Oh, sorry. I'm inside an image.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
So within the filter, and I put the selfie on it, and then I was like, I don't really like that. So then I was like, can I just edit undo, or do I have to jump out and move it? Maybe.
Let me see. So if you didn't want the selfie,
Yeah, if I wanted to like take the filter off.
I think you could just go to none.
Okay.
The none button.
Ah, yes. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Any other questions? I should ask anybody else besides just me. Anyone else would like to ask anything so far?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay. No other questions so far.
Great. Well, now, like, this is done. It was super easy. But now you have to put it somewhere. It has to go and live in the world and do its thing. So there's two different ways you can go about doing that. The first is super simple. You just click the download button and it suggests a PNG file format, and that's going to work just fine for almost everything that you want to do. But if you want to change that, let's say you just need a little itty bitty JPEG to email your coworkers, or a PDF, or if I kept those videos on there of them making lattes, you can download it as an MP4, which is kind of neat. And you just click the download button and it downloads like, you know, anything else off the internet. Another option would be this little icon in the upper right hand corner with the 3 dots. You can now directly post it onto a linked social media account or various storage devices if you choose. I'm not going to dive into this too much, but it's pretty straightforward. You just click on the thing that you want to publish it on, and then you have to connect them together. I found that Instagram is not listed here, but if you go to the left-hand menu and choose more, it does look like it will give you the option of linking your Instagram account to Canva. So you might want to explore that. All right, a couple other things that I would like to show you while we're here, you might enjoy, is that I'm just going to simply click on the background of this image, this design, and we get a couple new options. And the first here is the color of the background. And if I click on that, we get a bunch of different options. These are the Canva default colors, which are actually pretty nice. And then it also will sample colors from your photography, which can be super helpful. This is a very easy way to create color harmony within a design without having to know a lot of color theory. So you could just simply sample some of these colors. So if you wanted something not quite so punchy, like that gold color, it's sampling this gray from probably the pottery wheel. Or if you want something, you know, that kind of has like, you know, kind of this sort of look, you could do that too. But I thought the gold worked pretty well. And this is our font color. Yep.
Liza, we do have someone with a question.
Oh, sure.
If I can, I'm going to go ahead and unmute them so that they can ask their question out loud.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay. Oh, you know what? We may not be able. Okay, it looks like the newer version doesn't let me allow me to unmute you, but I can ask her question for you. She's asking, how do you override the video if you don't want to use the video?
That's okay.
So yeah, I think that's. Let me know if I'm saying that correctly for you too. That it's
sure.
How do you override the video if you don't want to use it?
That's a good question. And I'll actually maybe show that by example. So if I go back to video and, you know, we had that latte one, I'm going to just plunk in a new video. So there actually, that looks really nice with the design. So Canva is smart enough to know the difference between an embedded video and a photo. So to replace this video with a photo, I would just go back to uploads or your photos and just drag and drop a photo into it. And it will understand what you're trying to do. You're just telling it, no, that's not what you want. You want this image. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Okay. Looks like it does.
Great. Okay. I think this is also a good time to address this issue, an issue that I had. I am purposely using Google Chrome, which is not my preferred browser, but Canva I find works best in Chrome. I was using Safari because I have a Mac, and I found that sometimes Canva had issues in that browser where it wouldn't allow me to replace a video with a photograph. It glitched. So if you're ever having issues with Canva being kind of quirky like that, try a different browser and you'll probably have a lot more success. Yeah, I think, so I do want to talk about, just have a few more minutes left about the pro version. And I'll be honest, I haven't dug too much into what you get with the pro version. I know that if you sign up for it, they'll schedule social media posts for you. So you don't, you can do that sort of thing. But what stood out most for me, that would be a super time saver, is that if you're doing social media campaigns across multiple platforms, so you're doing, let's say, Instagram post, and then need to make a Facebook banner, and then something maybe for LinkedIn, it can be really time consuming to start all of your designs from scratch and then build them so they all look cohesive together. But with the pro version, in the upper left-hand corner, if you hit resize, it does have the option of, it will take the design that you have and import all of the assets into these different aspect ratios. And it does the best it can, but you can see it looks kind of awkward. You'd need to go in and rearrange the visual elements so it works within that aspect ratio. But all of your assets are there, all your types there, all your photographs, and your color palette is there. And as a graphic designer who has done social media campaigns in Adobe Illustrator and has had to do every single aspect ratio from scratch, this would be a huge time saver. So, so if you're at that point, whether in your business or your creative endeavors, that you'd need to do that, you might want to try out that free trial, see if it works for you. I'm going to show you one more quick thing, talking about cross-platform advertising is, I wanted to make a Facebook banner or a Facebook post using these elements, and I'll kind of show you how I did that. I first made sure that I captured what we call the hex number of my background image or color. And the way I got that is, I clicked on the background, then colors, and then chose new color. And the color that I have in the background automatically shows up first. And this number is called a hex number. And that is your computer's way of identifying what color that you want. And you would write this color down so that you would have it. Next, I would go back to the home on Canva, and I would try to find, let's say, like the Facebook banner that I would want. So let's try this. Let's just search for, let's do Facebook cover. Let's try that. And if I wanted to replicate that design, I would simply choose create a blank Facebook cover, and I would start from scratch. There's not probably going to be a template that looks like that Instagram template. So I'll first start, and just for the sake of time, you would select that orange color by typing in the hex number. I'm just going to kind of grab an orange here. I would then go back to this post, select the type I want, copy it, and then paste it inside of my new composition, and then resize and start repositioning the elements as I think they ought to be. And I'm just kind of clicking through some of these things, just to kind of see how it looks. And then I might not want all those photographs, but maybe I do want this one. So I can actually either click on it and copy and paste it, or I can simply go back into my photos, and find it. So I'm just kind of doing this quick and easy. I'm not kind of explaining all of this, but I just kind of wanted to demonstrate like how you could go and, use your design in multiple ways.
We do have a question about websites and whether or not you could make a website with Canva, like you could with something like WordPress or.
Um, Not that I've noticed. It's something I haven't come across, but a service that works a lot like this to create websites would be something like Squarespace. And that's actually where I host my my website is through Squarespace. I couldn't, code it from scratch. I could use WordPress, but Squarespace is just so easy.
And I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
How did you grab your text from your existing design? I put the
Mhm.
photo in first, so I missed how we grabbed the
Oh,
text.
sure. Um, so back in my original design, I just clicked on the text box
Oh,
and
did you still have that open in another tab
yes, I
to go
did. I'm
back and
sorry.
forth?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. So I'm going back
okay.
and forth. Yep. So I'm just doing on my Mac, it's Command C. I think on a PC, it's Control C. I don't know if that's
To
right.
copy? Yeah,
Copy. Yep. And
yep.
then,
Okay,
yep, Command V to paste it in. So you
all
can
right.
see, yep, it still needs a little bit of tweaking, but that would be one way to recycle your designs.
Okay, perfect. I just missed that we didn't have that we had the tab
Oh, okay.
open, so I'm
Yep.
all set now.
All
Yay.
right. Yeah. So I thought I'd leave the last few minutes for questions. If you want me to demonstrate something or, any questions about social media or design.
Um, do you happen to know? I didn't happen to look through their licensing for things like the photos or like the fonts. I'm assuming
Mhm.
that this is for personal use or business use, it sounds like.
Correct. Yep. So everything that they have is for, yeah, you can definitely do that. And I've noticed a lot of their photographs actually come from this website, which I use all the time, from Pixabay. So they recycle these photographs, and so if I forgot to mention that. So Pixabay is my favorite go-to for um, photography, even video clips that are royalty free for both business and personal use. And professional photographers contribute to this all the time and would like you to appreciate and use their work as you see fit.
Okay. Um, okay, so I guess I'm asking a lot of questions.
That's great.
For the fonts, can you upload your own fonts too? Can you hide
Oh,
with that at all?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I would have to look into that. Um, yeah, I think what they have are mostly Google fonts,
Okay.
and then some, like, it looks like they have a few of their own fonts that they want you to have the pro version to use.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wait, look at upload a font. Way at the
Ah,
bottom. Yep, if you pay for it.
yes. Okay.
Yep.
Good to know that that's an option though, because then if you had a particular font that you were using for your branding or whatever,
Yeah,
you
good
could
point.
get the pro version and then upload them.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Someone else has asked, can you make greeting cards with Canva?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go home, and I think that we could even, yes. So there we are. Looks like they have quite the selection, and I bet if we click on this, yep, it looks like it gives you a front page, and then if you wanted to add additional pages for, let's say, the front and the back, it does give you that option in this upper right-hand corner. So you could duplicate a page, and then maybe for the inside of your card, you could remove some of these elements and then put a message inside that you'd want to use. But it looks like they have quite a few.
It looks like you can do different sizes too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
this is
I did card and then just searched card up at the top, and it gave me different sizes.
Oh, great.
So if you went to the home screen where you do the create design and just type in card, it gave me like a 4x8 or a portrait card, business card, folded card.
That should give you, let's see, hopefully, yep, there it is. So this should hopefully be a 2-page document. Yes, so there we go. Yep. And if we would print that, yeah, they must have their own printing services. So you could order those. Yep.
Yeah, but you could probably download it and then use cardstock or something in your own printer is my guess.
Oh yeah, correct. That would probably work pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, there's just so many things that you can do on here that I haven't really explored them all.
Did you show us how to get to the 2-page cards again?
Oh, sure. I'm going to go home. And under card, I just went CARD. And so these must be postcard types. And then I just scrolled down until I found the folded card, which this one is 7x10, 10x7. Oh, they even have place cards. So if you need to make something for an event, something like that. Yeah. Any other questions?
That's cool. Neat.
And the one thing that I found to be sort of kind of problematic is if you're doing a lot of experimenting, it wants to save everything you do. So you end up with this cascade of saved projects. And if you wanted to delete them, like I'm not going to be using this. Once you hover over it, you get this menu option. You can click on it and simply move it to the trash and kind of clean up your archive a little bit.
Great. And it looks like you created your presentation, so you could create something similar to, if you were doing it for school or business purposes, to create a presentation too. That's cool.
Absolutely. And part of the fun of making the presentation was going through the elements. And this template actually came with a few of them, but let's see if I can find some of them. I wonder if they have like little, let's see. Anyway, I can't find it.
I like that it's called sketchy flowers. I know what they mean by sketchy, but the first thing I think of is, like sketchy, like, but, but they mean sketchy, like it's sketched out. So,
yeah. So it's sometimes just fun, just to kind of play with all the funny things they have on here. And when I talked about trendy, like some of these are super, super trendy. Like all of these plant motifs are definitely like in right now, and they will not be in probably in 2 years, but then they'll be in again. You know how that works, just like fashion. Yeah. Yeah, is there anyone, does anyone have like kids at home that are doing online learning? Well, if you do, there are like options of creating if you're an instructor, they have options for education. They also have these little presentations that kids can use. That are kind of fun, like science projects, that sort of thing.
Like the trivia night.
Yeah, everyone likes a good trivia night. Right.
Great. That's cool.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have much more much more prepared for my presentation. So let me think of, for pricing, we could see how much the pro version costs. I'm not even sure. Oh, there it is, $12.95 a month, which isn't terrible. If you're using it all of the time, in your, especially a small business, it might be worth it. But I have never done the pro version, so I can't give you any like firsthand experience with that.
Yeah, I know I have a coworker who uses it frequently, and she uses the free version and finds that to be suitable for what she needs, for what she does too.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I had no problem creating the example and being happy with it with the free version. Yep.
And it's nice that they offer so many designs and things that you can, like from different sort of topical photography areas too.
Yeah, definitely.
And graphics. Very cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Liza? If you're, I'm actually following, of course, that's why I'm asking so many questions, since I'm following along on my side with a compute with the laptop open over here. So I have like 2 monitors going and everything. And it looks like the feature section is kind of fun too, with all the different like photos and backgrounds and stuff, where you could start with exploring things there too.
Oh yeah, the top menu.
So like icons and yeah.
Definitely.
Looks like you could probably search for just about anything there.
Yeah, and yeah, these are actually pretty good icons. So even if you have, I hate to say it, like, I wonder if I can just use in a design free to use. So you can just simply click on it, yeah, and use it in, let's say, a video presentation, and it will show up. Yep. Maybe it's worth talking about how a template, you can have the same content, but the template could really change the look and the feel of it. So this is a new template, a different one that was just really basic. It was a piece of photography with some type, and I kind of did this as an experiment, and I didn't use this one because it didn't work. And I'm going to tell you, I'll let you know why it didn't quite work. First, I thought that the contrast of the background, the difference between the light and the dark, made it difficult to read the typography. You could probably fix that by making it a different color, maybe, but I still find it difficult to see. I also, in my brief, those 5 questions I answered, I wanted something fun and enthusiastic, and this just didn't quite do it. It's a little bit too somber. So this is a good example of, just because a template looks good with the elements that they present it with, once you put your own content in it, even if you follow, like, you don't change the template at all, it just still might not work. So be willing to be flexible and try out maybe a couple templates with the same information and see how that works. It might be that maybe something like this, oops, let's see, might be better. Not really, but you can experiment with that. So if one photograph doesn't work, try plunking in, something different. And that's better, actually.
Yeah, with the color, it's
yeah. So that starts to work. So something to keep in mind. Yep.
Great. Very fun. Great. Are there any other questions? Can you answer anything else? No? All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll pull back up my video here too, so that I can come back in here. Oops. All right. Okay. Are there any other questions or anything you'd like for Liza to demonstrate again or go back through or anything like that? Okay. If not, I want to say thank you, Liza. This was really a really lovely tutorial on getting started with Canva. I can definitely see that I'm going to use this on my social media here pretty soon.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I had a coworker who just happened to mention Canva, and that got me thinking about it. And I hadn't really explored it myself at all. And this is really great. I think this is a nice resource
Wonderful.
for
Yeah,
people to use.
I know professional designers who work with clients that they'll just create like a little branding pack and teach them how to use Canva, and then the client can just make whatever they want based on what the designer has made for them. So, which I think is pretty cool. It kind of shows that even like it's not just like design newbies who use it, you know,
Mhm.
that professionals do too.
Great.
Yep.
Excellent. Any other final questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you, Liza. And
Thank
I
you.
just want to remind everyone again, for library resources, we are open for virtual services and curbside delivery. And if you want to reach out to us, feel free. We have chat, we have email, and you can get a hold of us however you'd like. And thank you, Liza. We'll have you back again soon.
Oh, fun. I'd be happy to. Thanks, everyone.
For another fun graphic design technology merged program. It's always really fun. I always love that I learned so much.
Oh, great. That makes me very happy.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, you know what? I will go ahead and I realized I should have put I'll stop spotlighting your video here and pop mine back up there too so everybody can see me as well. And and say goodbye to everyone. Thank you for joining us. And again, if you want to know other events that are happening, you can go to champaign.org/events on our website to see any of the other events and programs you might want to sign up for. So, all right. Thanks again. Bye, everyone.